Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. How much currency is produced compared to how many gold and silver coins are produced? Let's explore! Now, you might find that fairly specific delineation there, because most of us are probably aware, as I've posted a series of videos specifically in relation to the amount of dollars from the M2 money supply the Federal Reserve prints in US dollars compared to how many ounces of silver are produced per year. But we're going to take it and broaden it out a little bit and narrow it in other ways. In this infographic here, precious metal coins versus money from visualcapitalist.com. Now, I'm going to change the terminology a bit because when you think about it, precious metal coins is very specific and money is a little bit confusing. I think we'll use the term currency, though I do believe that the dollar is a form of money based off of the recognized definition and the assets of what makes money what it is. But we don't want to muddy the waters too much because we're really talking about world currencies. And some currencies have more value and faith than other currencies. So when we take a look at this, this gives us a graphical representation of what is going on. And I think it'll be quite interesting to see how this all looks when we study it. Gold and silver played an important role throughout money's history. Unlike modern currencies, precious metals can't be created out of thin air and derive value from their scarcity. That's extremely important because it is part of the appeal of precious metals for sure, is their scarcity. Globally, how does the value of minted gold and silver coins compare to currency creation? And before we move on, I want to make one thing clear. Scarcity or rarity does not necessarily equate to value either, because the dollar, as we know, is being printed like never before. Yea, though, its value is strengthening in some cases, although, make no mistake, by design, it is devalued by 2 to 2.5% per year here in the post-COVID age. But when you take into account the amount of money that is being printed in US dollars, it should be a lot more than that. But its strength compared to other currencies is high. So let's look at this. Total production per person. So if you look at the 2019 silver coins minted in 2019, that's about 23 cents per person. And for gold, the amount of 2019 gold coins minted is $1.42. Now notice they are delineating coins as opposed to bars and other forms of silver and gold, which are utilized especially for storage by the central banks and in terms of use in industry, in science, and in the medical field. So the increase in global money supply is 852.95 based off US, China, and EU, Japan, and England. And now I'm not sure if that's billion, trillion, or whatever. That's I think that's per person. Per person, there is that much of an increase in global money supply would equate to that much dollars in US dollars. In 2019, the value of new global money supply was 600 times higher than the value of new gold coins minted. Now think about that. That is substantial. 600 times higher than the value of new gold coins minted. And so to think of it another way, here's how much global currency was issued for each new ounce of minted coins in 2019. Per 1 ounce of minted silver in the form of coins, that includes things like maple leafs, collector coins, bullion coins, but not bars, not generic silver, or that type of thing. So 67,000, an increase in global money supply, $67,000. And then per 1 ounce of minted gold, look at that, $908,000 an increase in money supply. So quite a visual representation there. Amazing. So the change in annual production from 2019 versus 2010, we can see a 2.1% increase in annual production of minted silver coins. That's specific there, not silver all the way around. But then there's been a 14.4% increase in minted gold coins. That's an interesting this distinction between silver coins. That's actually a little bit surprising in a way. But again, this does not account for other forms of bullion like privately issued or industrial use. Compared to a decade ago, annual money issuance increased by 1/3. Wow. So the global money supply increased by 33.3%. That's a full third between 2010 and 2019. For the first half of 2020, the global money supply grew faster as governments rushed to provide stimulus or relief during COVID-19. So the production increase in H1 in minted gold coins, 7.3 billion, based off of a spot price of $1,783.40 as of June the 30th, 2020. From January to June 2020, the increase in global money supply was over 1,600 times greater than the increase in minted gold coins. Wow. So it's $11.8 trillion from January to June 2020 in money supply around the world. That is quite telling for sure. And so that gives you some insight and a perspective in this graphic about how much is being printed per coins that are minted. Now, it is an interesting delineation how they can tell how much silver goes to coins minted as opposed to bars or in addition to bars, and be able to parse that out. But I guess mints keep figures, and maybe that's the easiest way to measure, as I can tell you how many coins have been minted by eagles, commemoratives, or what have you. There's a lot of collector coins that fall in that category, and there's a lot of bullion coins that fall in that category. All of them by sovereign mints, or at least they're issued through sovereign institutions, even if they're provided by private mints like Scottsdale Mint. But this does not include the major bullion out there. And it also does not include gold held by the Federal Reserve or any other central banks that are out there. So in a way, this might be a good measure, probably maybe one of the more accurate measures, because most of us, when we buy the stack, we're advised to accumulate sovereign bullion from major mints like the United States Mint, the Royal Canadian Mint, the Royal Mint, and others out there, the Perth Mint, and others out there that are producing these products. So what a fascinating, interesting delineation here, because on the national debt clock, when you see $29,614 per ounce, that is the amount of gold that is mined around the world that is produced in ounces compared to the year-over-year increase in the U.S. M2 money supply. So this kind of narrows it in some ways and broadens in others, divided by mineable ounces as tracked by the United States Geological Survey and Federal Reserve numbers, whereas this infographic gives a much different outlook around the world. And it just goes to show you that we really do have a global problem here. And because you cannot create gold and silver out of thin air, and you certainly cannot produce it and mint it, these coins in such a way. But even if you were to take all the gold and all the silver that has ever been mined and make coins out of it, I still don't think it's going to catch up to the increase in currency creation there for sure. But fascinating indeed, especially when you look at it through a time period such as we see here from 2019 and 2010. And it is fascinating, I think quite telling to see the increase of gold for coins over the last 10 years. But even though this increase has occurred, and maybe gold production has increased in some of these discoveries, it's still probably a lot less than how many silver coins are minted by number, for sure. No question about that. So you have to look at that in perspective. That 14.4% is an increase, but that increase is a very tiny number compared to the amount of silver coins that are in production or have been produced by a nominal number. And a change from 2010 to 2019, for sure. So very, very interesting and fascinating infographic, one of the newer ones. I'm glad to see these being produced again because I think it gives us some perspective with more contemporary information that helps us to gauge what we are accumulating. And all of these tend to be sourced from like the Silver Institute, the World Gold Council, the Federal Reserve, Trading Economics, European Central Bank, banks of other nations around the world, macro trends, and others. So it is fascinating to see this stuff put together in a manner as this. What are your thoughts about such interesting data? Let me know in the comment section below. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.